What's going on, everybody? The world is a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is a Monday, January 20th, 2025. And we are going to react to what was no doubt an extremely entertaining and fun divisional round for the NFL playoffs. And before we talk about each of the games, how weird they were, how much fun they were to watch, and how entertaining all four of them were in their own way, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding the show across all social media platforms on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X and Twitter at PodConvo Pod, or TikTok, good to say, TikTok at Productive Conversations, and Facebook at Productive Conversations. And don't forget, as always, to check out our sponsor, Magic Mind. Go to magicmind.com/PCJAN for 45% off your either mood boosting or sleep aid shots. So, hope everybody had a great weekend. Hold out a historic day today, the 20th. And you know why? We'll get into that with the tweet cap on Tuesday. And yeah, I had a great divisional weekend where we worked, where we relaxed, where we ultimately watched football. And for one of my favorite weekends of the year, this particular divisional round did not disappoint. And ultimately go 3-4 with my picks. I got all the first three right on the spread, and then just missed the Bills and Ravens one. But ultimately, this was exactly what we wanted. It has set up an intriguing conference championship Sunday. And let's talk about it. Let's go through the games and react to it and enjoy it. And also, don't forget, check out the tweet cap on Friday and this Tuesday and this Friday this week to talk about what's trending in our world on a pop culture, sports, entertainment, and news level. And then we will have a reaction to the national championship on Tuesday as well. Sorry, we will have a reaction to the national championship, Ohio State versus Notre Dame, on Wednesday for you. So you record that late on Tuesday. So the divisional weekend might as well start right away with the Ravens and the Bills, where the Bills win by a score of 27-25. And while the first half was definitely mostly Bills, the Ravens made a push towards the end. And I felt so confident watching the whole game. And they seemed to really figure out the Bills' defense. Derrick Henry it was a difference between two halves for Derrick Henry, but he finally stepped up. Justice Hill made some plays as the other running back. Lamar Jackson also improved mightily as well. But the Bills held their own too. Josh Allen playing a great game. James Cook facilitated. The defense was holding up for the most part until the Ravens ran away with it. And Jim Harbaugh, I feel, noticed that with the second half adjustments. And ultimately, it came down who had the ball last. And it came down to the mistakes of the Ravens, which led to this 25-27. And obviously, the two fatal ones and the two mistakes that people will remember until the Bills win another Super Bowl. Until the Ravens win another Super Bowl. And the fatal mistake of one, Mark Andrews, the tight end, one of the best tight ends in the entire NFL. And even though he's had injury problems the past couple of years, he was playing well going into this. But having the crucial fumble in midfield at the end, in the middle of the fourth quarter, and then obviously dropping the 2-point conversion after scoring, will unfortunately live with him until Baltimore wins again, or he wins the Super Bowl. That was just so damn crushing. And the Ravens didn't play perfect either, especially in the first half. And Lamar admitted it himself in the press conference. My bad in the crucial turnovers. Turnovers, the name of the game on why these teams lose in the playoffs are those damn turnovers. Well, clearly it's the Ravens in this game. Tampa last week. Crucial turnovers are what kills teams and kills playoff hopes. And you just feel for Lamar Jackson and the Bills. Sorry, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in this one. I think they had it. For now, Lamar will be known as a great regular season quarterback and somebody who didn't step up in the playoffs. Reckon I don't think he deserves all of the blame in this game. It was just the ball rolls your way sometimes. You have to make the catches when it counts. Was it a perfect behind the back shoulder pass? No. Wasn't in his chest, but it was in his hands, and everything worked out right. I thought the move was to use Derrick Henry to run in for the score. And we saw 2 failed 2-point conversions for the Ravens. The first one, Milano hits it towards the ground. The fourth, and then obviously this one at the end of the game. And will be with the Ravens for a long time. It's going to be a very long off season. But the mistakes of the Ravens helped the Bills win this game, and they took advantage. Scored when they needed to. Josh Allen made his moves. A lot of it was his legs and running game, and that freezing Buffalo cold weather that we've seen time and time again in this era, in the Josh Allen, Sean McDermott era. But that's what happens. Bills are going to the AFC Championship. They are a point-and-a-half underdog going into it. And at the end of the week, we will preview the conference championship. But yeah, they took advantage. And I just thought that ultimately the Bills, I thought the Ravens are the better team. The Ravens had the better chance to actually defeat the Chiefs, but they didn't step up when they needed to. Who knows if Derrick Henry had the first half, if he had a first half that was just as good, if not better, than his second half, and it could have made a whole of a lot of difference. Still got 84 yards on the ground, despite, I think, only getting under 25, just under 25 in the first half. And missing Zay Flowers was definitely crucial. Rashad Bateman on and off the field with his injuries. And yeah, came down to a final possession and a drop pass. And it's so easy to blame Mark Andrews. And so easy to do that, but it is ultimately a team effort. And the less mistakes you make in this postseason, the better your chances to win. And the Ravens just ultimately had less mistakes than the Bills did. And the Ravens defense did hold up when they needed to. They made the stops when they needed to. And even the Ravens, Justin Tucker, who's had no doubt the worst season of his career, actually had a really good game. But ultimately, Bills capitalize and they are going to the AFC Championship. Brutal loss for Baltimore. Good win for Buffalo. And I'll stick it to the Sunday games. Why don't we hit on the Rams and the Eagles? And well, even though the Rams just covered the +6.5, the harsh winter conditions killed the Rams for the first 3 quarters, and the Rams really didn't step up on offense until the final 2 minutes. It felt like the final quarter within the last 5 minutes, and they made a push. Pretty impressive at the end of the day, with Matt Stafford getting over 300 yards in the air in that harsh East Coast wintry conditions. And obviously, they still made a push. Kieran Williams had a good game, but he had a crucial turnover in this game. There we go with the turnovers again. Saquon Barkley, obviously, when you have 200 yards on the ground and motivated to be where you are, now you're in the NFC Championship for the first time in your career after leaving my Giants. And well, bro made a decision to stand on business, and that's where they are. And I really, really do believe if at least it wasn't wintry, very wintry and windy, the Rams would have made a push, and they still almost pulled off this victory. They just didn't turn it on until the end of this game, and they definitely could have thrown the towel after Saquon's second touchdown, but they made a push, and they made the stops on defense when they needed to. And Jalen Hurts really relying on Saquon Barkley to get most of the yards, under 150 yards for him in a playoff game. As we're seeing, that's a typical Jalen Hurts game. But you gotta give credit to Saquon and the Eagles' offensive line for protecting to actually annihilate. AJ Brown for the second week in a row only gets 1 catch, and it's all Saquon Barkley. And that's obviously going to be a big factor for the Commanders to win this game on Sunday afternoon. Is just contain Barkley, give him pressure. Washington has won already against the Eagles. And that's where we are in this case. So I'm just so bummed out. Wanted LA to win so bad. Obviously, what's going on in LA, we're still thinking about our friends and family in Los Angeles. But the weathery conditions had them ill prepared, despite Matt Stafford having a good game towards the end, getting it to Puka when needed to. Cooper Cup actually had a pretty solid game after. But if it wasn't for some crucial turnovers from Kieran Williams, who still had an okay game, but that crucial turnover in the second half killed him. And then just Saquon Barkley just annihilating, giving a chance for his offense to just go ham. Despite there were some moments when they were able to contain at least Jalen Hurts and not making the wide receivers have a huge game for Philly. But ultimately, Saquon Barkley was the difference maker, and that's why they are in the NFC Championship. Almost made a great comeback. Would have been such a great story. And remember, they're only down by 6. If at the end they could have gotten in the end zone, it would have just come down to an extra point. They could have won 29-20, but the Rams just ran out of time. And with smaller, less mistakes. And again, if they just played how they played in the fourth quarter and the first 3 quarters, a little more aggressive there, I think it would have been a different story. But tough loss for the Rams to swallow. And we'll see the interesting. I think we at least established that Sean McVay is in a hell of a coach and one of the best coaches we'll see with various rosters. Especially a lot of people felt like he was carried by a great roster in the first half of his career, and then winning the Super Bowl against Cincinnati and getting to a Super Bowl, losing to New England. But the fact that Aaron Donald's last year, they still made a push and made the playoffs. And then this time with a younger defense and adding to the rosters with with the great work that front office has done and getting them this far. And if a few different plays went differently, they'd be back in the NFC Championship. I think that is something to pay attention to moving forward with Sean McVay. And Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL for a reason. And for those who thought he would leave and go to TV, or those who felt he was overrated because of rosters, no. This man is a great football mind. Was able to make adjustments with these wintry mix. It's just the Rams roster couldn't turn it up until way later in the game. So regardless, though, tough loss for the Rams, good win for Philly, and now they're hosting the NFC Championship. So why don't we go to our Saturday games? Somewhat shocking. I feel if you followed the Lions all season long, like obviously I did, as you've seen at me every week do the, and also seeing how explosive the Commanders offense can really be. The Commanders easily covered the plus 9.5, outright beat the Lions. Even though I thought the game would be close and the Lions would get a slim victory, Commanders scoring 45 points on the Lions defense, so injury ridden. They get a big win. Rip the hearts out of the people of Detroit. And your Washington Commanders are back in the NFC Championship for the first time since the early 90s. All it takes is one quarterback sometimes and competent ownership after they make the switch last year, and your Commanders are here. Give a lot of credit on this magical run. This offense knows how to score. We talked all year long about the Lions defense giving up some big numbers. And now also with their injuries, and they had more in the last few weeks, and no Aiden Hutchinson. But ultimately, the Commanders take advantage of horrendous play from Jared Goff and the Lions offense. And when you're Jared Goff throwing 3 interceptions, which includes a pick 6, it's hard to keep up. Despite Jahmyr Gibbs having a great game again, I think establishing himself as one of the best running backs in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams playing well. But ultimately, Jared Goff just played outright terrible. And Jaden Daniels with over 300 yards with rushing and passing. Brian Robinson Jr. getting a couple touchdowns in. Austin Eckler had a great game. With Brown and Terry McLaurin. This Washington offense was just so dominant. And then the Commanders defense scoring on defense, pressuring Jared Goff, and they just kept running away with it. And this extremely high scoring game ends with Washington back in the mix in the NFC Championship. And even though they're our division rivals with my team, I never grew up really in a time where, I disliked or hated the Commanders slash Washington football team slash Redskins. It's only a great story. You obviously know, if you know me and how much I've covered the NFL and being a Giants fan and my disdain for the Philadelphia Eagles. I want Washington to win. I'll talk all about that at the end of the week. But Commanders scoring on both sides of the ball, and the Lions just making mistake after mistake, ultimately leads with this feel-good win for Washington, an absolutely gut-wrenching loss for Detroit. That's going to sting. They're going to lose their coordinators. Team's getting older. People want to get paid soon. But they say the best ability is availability. And the fact the Lions still look so good despite major key players missing. Who knows if they could get back in this position next year, but much healthier. I do think it'll be a different story. But very sad loss for Detroit. And a wonderful one for Washington. As for Texas, the Chiefs. Absolutely frustrating one to watch. Obviously, the questionable calls, which we talk about time and time again. Reckon both there were bad calls for both sides, but obviously more egregious ones for Kansas City. Will Anderson roughing the passer, the Patrick Mahomes flopping, the Patrick Mahomes sliding, making two Houston defenders hitting each other, getting a penalty there. You only add to the narrative about the Chiefs always getting the refs' bias, only for them to prosper. And why is that anymore? The Taylor Swift thing is old. I don't think people really care about that. When you want to impress Caitlin Clark in the luxury suite, who cares? People are onto the weird bias for the Kansas City Chiefs. Really stuff. And don't get me wrong, Houston themselves played a terrible game as well. And from the terrible special teams play, the Houston kicker just playing like hell. Missed field goals, mixed extra points. That's not going to help. Well, CJ Stroud is also missing Diggs and Tank Dell. That was a factor too. And then just Travis Kelce, really the only one making big noise. And then just the Texans offensive line not protecting. This was a messy game, but yet they kept it close. The 9.5-point spread was not hit, mostly due to the last minute safety, which was great for bettors if you got the backdoor cover there. But here we are, Kansas City figuring out how to win. Straight AFC Championship. You win is a win, and they were able to sneak themselves in there. But man, ugly and just for Kansas City winning again. And here we are. I think it would have been a nice story to see the Texans get there, especially the confidence that returned for CJ Stroud in the wild card round. But that team needs to improve their line. They gotta not have their best players get hurt, and their best CJ Stroud's weapons get hurt. And yeah, we'll see what happens next year. But they definitely have a good future ahead. They have a very good coach who is a player motivator and good football mind. And yeah, let's just keep it going. Keep calling out the refs until you have to have Roger Goodell make a statement, even if it's a phony one. It is so damn weird, the bias for Kansas City. And why? I feel most people would rather have the Buffalo Bills story in the Super Bowl this time. They don't want to see the Chiefs be the first team to have a three-peat in the Super Bowl, but yet they're close, and here we are. They're there again. But we will see where this ultimately takes us. But even though Kansas City wins, go Buffalo, baby, right? It's everybody versus Kansas City at this point. And we'll talk at the end of the week how Buffalo can beat it. But all I know is that Kansas City offensive line is actually pretty weak. And the Bills, though they were thought the Ravens pass rush would give them more pressure, the Ravens pass rush, still the Bills pass rush led by Ed Oliver can still give problems. And if they can just not give Kansas City any time of possession, running the ball, hit down that clock, and just bust the shit out of Kansas City, Bills might have a chance. And also, if there were some injuries for the secondary for Buffalo in the Ravens game, and as long as you can have those guys like Trey Johnson in, it might be okay as well. But we'll talk about that at the end of this week. That's our divisional round recap. I appreciate and love you all. Remember, you want more football? National Championship reaction on Wednesday, Tweet Cap Tuesday and Friday. I hope everybody has a great week. Well, ultimately, the divisional round was not disappointing. It's pure football. Only a few more games left. We got the National Championship, an AFC and NFC Championship, then the Super Bowl, 4 games to go, and then that'll wrap up our football season. We're going to enjoy every little thing about it. So my name is Matt Brown. I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. I'll be seeing you all very soon. Peace.